if you keep going, here's the cool thing that happens. The first thing that happens is people stop talking because they get tired of it. They get tired of making fun of you for the same reason and you not changing your behavior. The resistance is weak. They start to actually watch what you're doing. They're actually curious and interested. They see you getting results. It causes them to ask themselves the question, I wonder if I should be doing this as well. My name is Brian. I help executives inside of corporate America transform their personal life to become as successful as their professional careers have been. I am an expert at this because I did it myself. I sat in your seat for 2 decades. I am not special. If I can do it, so can you. Welcome back to the show. This is the Success Lift Podcast. I am your host, Brian. This is episode 211. Hope you're having a great start to your early summer. It's beginning of June. 5 months of the year is gone. Gone, people, gone. We only got 7 left. We are almost at the halfway point. And I say this oftentimes at the beginning of each month, usually to my email distribution list. If you are not on my email list, go to the successlift.com/join. JOIN. Takes you like less than 5 seconds. I deliver a short, impactful, intentional, educational, inspirational, maybe humorous sometimes, message on a daily basis for the last 4 years. Talk about compound interest. Been doing this damn email list for 4 years, pretty much every day. Definitely every day for the last like 2.5 to 3 years. Maybe I missed a day the first year or so. But I made a commitment a number of years ago to write a short email every single day. And I'm unwilling to break that commitment, mostly because I don't want to break the streak, and it's worked and I've gotten results. And why would I stop doing something that is continuing to get results in my life and hopefully in yours as well? Since I talked last week about working weekends and how your summer could potentially derail your entire year, and within that little microcosm, how your weekends are affecting your overall progress, because you're losing 2 pounds, you're gaining 2.5 pounds or 3 pounds. You're losing 3 pounds Monday to Thursday, you're gaining back 3 pounds. Everyone is losing the same goddamn weight over and over and over and over again. And this isn't just about weight. This is also about your mindset. This is about your relationships. You're doing the same things. You're numbing with the same vices on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, holiday weekends on, well, actually, you're probably doing it on Sunday too in the summer. Let's be fair. It doesn't need to be a holiday weekend. And I wanted to talk about transformation. I wanted to talk about resistance. I want to talk about why you are unwilling to do the damn things that you need to do. And I thought back to my own transformation. And so this is going to be a short one. I'm trying to keep them shorter and shorter. I'm trying to get more efficient with my words, not ramble as much. By the way, if you haven't left a rating or review to the podcast yet, could you please go over to Apple Podcasts, Spotify. If you're watching on YouTube, you're seeing I got a good set of guns on me right now. I am just about at the tail end of a fat loss phase, looking good, looking real good. I gained about 25-ish pounds from the start of this phase of mine over a year ago. Talk about long-term expectations. I was already in good shape. I took a multi-year approach to changing my body composition. Put on about 27-ish pounds, and I'm almost done taking it all off. By the time you're hearing this, I'm down about 22 officially from the highest print, we call it, but probably more likely down about 20 right now, and maybe even more by the time you listen to this, because I am recording this in the past. But let's talk about resistance. Let's talk about why you are unwilling to do some of the things that you say you want to do. Now, let's just assume that you actually want them, because I do think that that is a legitimate question to ask yourself. Do you really want what it is that you kind of like loosely say to people? I want to look a certain way. I want to do this. I want to do that. Do you really want it? Meaning, are you willing to do the things that it requires? Because if you're not willing to do the things that it requires, you don't really want it. It would be convenient to have, but you don't really want it. I would love to go to like more sporting events, but I don't want to deal with like the bullshit and the traffic and the in and the out. And so like TVs look pretty awesome these days. And so I'm just going to sit on my couch and watch a game if I want to watch the game. I don't want to travel someplace. I don't want to do all the things that are required. I just want to watch the game and go move on about my day. So I'm not willing. I'm not willing to go to a lot of live sports. I definitely go to some, but I'm not willing to go to a lot of live sporting events. First thing that popped into my head. But as far as like people changing their behavior, I think it's an interesting case study because so often I find that people believe that there is this unbelievable force up against them. And I've talked a lot about like haters recently. I think it's very common. We see people that have, maybe that we look up to, that have big followings. I can think of one or two of my own personal friends that are sometimes villains online on social media. And everyone can then assume like, oh, if I start to do something different, everyone's gonna come at me. Everyone's gonna throw shade my way, give me some hate. And I've just found in my life that it's just not true. Like, it's just not true, at least for me and a lot of people that I know. And what I think people mistake, though, is that at first there is some resistance. At first, there are some people who talk some smack. At first, there are some people who feel like they're holding you back. And I guess in my experience, it's like, of course they are. Of course they're acting differently. You're acting differently. Of course they're reacting, I should have said, differently to you. Of course they're asking questions. Let's assume that you dressed a very specific way with a very consistent and specific hairstyle. And you did many of the same things over and over and over again. And one day you just decided to show up looking completely different, but you didn't actually share the why behind it, because that's what most of us do. We start to change because we've had this inner dialogue with ourselves for fucking years, at least months for all of us, but a lot of us years. Or we have a moment where it's very embarrassing, or it's very like, I gotta change. It's very painful. And so what we do is we make a decision to go a different path in our life. And we don't tell anybody, especially guys. We don't tell anybody. We just say, we're going to try to do this thing. We're going to try to do a little bit better. I'm going to try to. Soft ass, weak ass language. I'm going to try to not drink over the 3-day weekend, Memorial Day. How'd that go for everybody? I'm going to try to drink less this summer at the club. I'm going to try to drink less at the pool on Sunday afternoons. Good fucking luck. Because there's no commitment there. There's no certainty. There's no definitive actions. So anytime I ever get on the phone with someone and they say, try to, I am coming off the top rope. I am going for blood. What are you talking about? Try to. What are you going to commit to? What are you going to do? Because you realize that you are in control of your actions. We've talked about this many, many times. And you must make a committed action. You must have clarity of what you are doing. Rule number one, trait number one that you've exhibited inside of your professional career. Go back to welcome to my TED Talk from a few weeks ago. Great feedback on that one. So you know what you want to do in certain circumstances. The directions are pretty clear. So you don't really know what you want to do. You're going to say things like, I'm going to try to. But what you really don't do, what you never do, is you never have an open and honest conversation with people around you that you are attempting to do things differently, that you have a pretty significant why behind what you're doing, that you really desire a different set of results for yourself in your life. And so when you show up looking completely different, everyone goes, look at Brian. He looks completely different. He's acting completely different. And if your circle of friends were anything like my circle of friends, and when I say my friends, I mean me, leader number one, if their love language was talking shit, then of course they started to talk some shit. They started to make fun of you. They started to ask you why. Sometimes it was just out of general curiosity. But we get defensive and we say, well, so-and-so doesn't approve of what I'm doing. He's trying to get me to drink and I don't want to drink. Did you have a conversation with this person and tell them why you didn't want to drink? Tell them how meaningful it was for you to maybe get their support. Because every single time I've had a conversation like that with a friend, they've been like, yeah, I got your back, man. No problem. Then they might say something like, soft, bitch. Okay, cool. Of course they're kidding. And I wouldn't want it any other way. Loser. Like if you're going to get offended by those things, come on, you're never going to survive in the world. None of them actively attempted to sabotage me. I sabotaged myself. I was the one who chose to show up to our friends' houses when I knew what was going on and I didn't want to be a part of it. But I showed up, so I became a part of it. You're the one who's doing most of the damage in your life. You're the one who's unwilling to have a conversation with people and tell them what you really desire. I transformed in very, very difficult environments. Alpha, smack talking, locker room-esque work environments, trading floor, client dinners, steak, wine, bread, desserts, boozy, like beach weekends, summers at the club, golf, couples dinners. I told myself how hard this was all going to be or how hard it was because I didn't tell anyone else what I was trying to do. I didn't make it easier on myself. Nobody actually cared. Everyone cares too much about themselves and what they're going through to care enough about you. Now it manifests itself in the love language of a lot of people, which is talking shit. So I was just making it harder on myself. Again, if you show up dressed completely differently, people are going to start to ask questions. And those questions tend to manifest themselves in snarky comments, shit talking, whatever it may be. Here's what happens though. If you keep going, here's the cool thing that happens. The first thing that happens is people stop talking because they get tired of it. They get tired of making fun of you for the same reason and you not changing your behavior. The resistance is weak. Okay? Number two, they start to actually watch what you're doing. Because the resistance is so weak, they're actually curious and interested. They see you getting results. They start to correlate the actions that you're taking with the changes that you're getting. They see that you're still the same person. You just have chosen not to do some of the things that you've always done, some of the things that they're doing, that when you choose to not do them, it causes them to ask themselves the question, I wonder if I should be doing this as well. The third thing that happens is they may begin to change themselves. And that's pretty cool. They may ask you questions. They may ask your advice. They may hire you to work with them when you start a side hustle. They may hire you to work with them when you leave your career and start a new business. They may hire you to come in to work for their companies, their teams, their leaders. These are all very possible scenarios. And I can say that with 100% confidence because it's exactly the way my life is going right now. And so what I know is that everyone around you wants to change something about their life. Every single person. Even the people that we see, that we think have it all figured out. Everyone wants to be led in some way or another. You might just become the reason that they begin to do it. You might just become the reason that they make a change. you might become the reason that they go influence somebody else. And that mushroom effect is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. If you enjoyed this one, I would love for you to share it. The last several episodes I've gotten a lot of great feedback on. I've enjoyed making them. We've found some new listeners. Thank you. If you're not subscribed, subscribe to the show. Please subscribe to the show. Check us out on YouTube, where you can see some video of me and this bookshelf behind me and the microphone that is not even plugged in, guys. I want everyone to know that everything you see online, a large majority of it is fucking fake. You're watching everybody's highlight reel. And so when my microphone kicked the bucket about a month ago, I just started to use the microphone for the camera that I have to use anyway, because my editor said, all good, we'll just use the camera audio. It's pretty good audio. Perfect. Awesome. I haven't gotten a microphone yet, but I like the way it looks. It's a pretty consistent view. And when you have a microphone and you're talking into a microphone, you're an authority. That's how social media goes these days. So if I didn't have a microphone, you might not think that I'm as important as I am. Be careful of who you're following, who you're paying attention to. Find authentic people. Find people who sat in your seat. Find people who did what you did for 20 years. Find people who actually effectuated change in their life. Trust those people. Appreciate you. See you back here next week.